Hey everybody, sorry it took a minute to get online there, but I hope you're doing well this morning. Good morning. Good morning, everybody. Good morning. Good morning. I hope that you're enjoying this beautiful day and this beautiful morning. Man, God has given us just some gorgeous weather this morning, hasn't He? Since it got started just a minute or so late, I'll just start, kind of jump in here. We got a few folks on, so that's awesome. I hope that you're having a blessed morning. So, how many of you recognize where I am? Right? Probably all of you, right? Probably everybody does. Probably not a site that we've really seen as much as we used to, right? However, we're excited that by next weekend you might be seeing more of this as you're walking in and then leaving, and excited. So there's an announcement at the beginning of worship. We'll kind of talk about that. So that's an exciting thing. But as we get started today, I just wanted to kind of focus us a little bit on what we're talking about in worship today, and for this time of worship. So hope that you're having an awesome morning. And if I there we go. I'm going to share with you just this passage from 2 Corinthians. And today what we're talking about as we go through these, talking about the real Jesus versus some of the counterfeit Jesuses that we allow to come into our life. Today we're talking about how Jesus is the one, not just an option, right? And how sometimes we can start to think of it where, oh, well, I'll take a little bit of this, a little bit of that, and make Jesus sort of like an option, as opposed to He is the one, right? When what He says is comfortable, and what He says is uncomfortable. And so then you are sent out with this Savior because of this Savior Jesus. And Paul talks about it this way in 2 Corinthians, okay? I'm going to turn around so that the wind blows my Bible pages the other direction. Here we go. All right. So in 2 Corinthians chapter 5, Paul says, therefore, we are ambassadors, right, for Christ. God making His appeal through us, right? So as you go out into this world with all of the challenge and difficulty that's going on, was it yesterday? More riots and challenge. It's difficult, right? And people are hurting, and we see things that we wish we didn't have to endure, and that we didn't want anybody else to endure either. And what Paul says is that God is making His appeal through us, that we get to be the ones who show hope, who walk into the mess with people, that we get to be the ones who show people who Christ is, the real Christ. And so that's what we get to do. And he says, we implore you on behalf of Christ, be reconciled to God. All right, that's a big word right now, isn't it? And yet, through Christ, we are reconciled to God, and we can see that reconciliation with each other. And he says, for our sake, He made Him to be sin who knew no sin, so that in Him we might become the righteousness of God. That's the real Jesus, who He was not sinful at all. There's nothing wrong with Him. He wasn't sinful, and yet God made Him to be sin for our sake. That's the real Jesus, and that's the truth of it, right? It's something that wouldn't have made sense, except that's what God did, and that's what God chose to do for us. That's the real Jesus. And then we get to go out and be His ambassadors. God makes His appeal through us to the world. Say, look, this is what Jesus looks like. This is what followers of Christ look like. This is what hope and peace look like. This is what reconciliation looks like. This is what people who walk into the mess with other people like Christ did as He came down, became flesh for us. This is what He does for us. And we're going to talk a little bit about that with the story of Lazarus, and how Jesus goes to Mary and Martha, and what He does. So you'll hear a little bit about that in service as well. But anyway, so I just wanted us to kind of have that thought about who Christ is, who Jesus is, and how he became sin for us. Right? He didn't just tell us to get better and do better, but he became sin for us. And that's who our God is. And then we get to be ambassadors for that. So that's an exciting thing, I think, to think about, especially in this time. Maybe it's a little bit scary. Maybe it's a little bit something we got to wrestle with a little bit. But we get to be that light in a world that we know needs it now. And even in our lives sometimes, whatever's going on maybe in your life, we get to be that light through Christ, of course. So anyway, again, hopefully, you still recognize this place where I am. We haven't been here for a little while. But as you'll hear an announcement at the beginning of service today, we've got some exciting news coming up for next weekend, right? Just a week away, some exciting news coming up for you. So stay tuned for worship for that. Check out the announcement. It'll be right at the beginning. And then I encourage you, whether you're excited about that or whatever, just encourage you to then kind of come together in a time of worship, right? So we can be excited. We can be thinking about next week. We can be thinking about all kinds of cool stuff, but also to still make this morning online together a time for worship of the true God, right? Of the true Jesus, of which we're kind of continuing to learn about and think about. So anyway, so I hope that you're having a great day. And for all of you who've waved there, hi, wave. I hope that, maybe you get to sit outside and worship outside. Wouldn't that be cool this morning? So God bless your worship this morning. We just look forward to seeing many of you very soon. So God bless.